And good Friday to each and every one of you as we get rocking and rolling. Countdown to kickoff for the Broncos and Chargers is on. Troy Renck in from the Denver Post today, but the omnipresent Troy Renck. You can find him on CSN pretty much weekly with Mick and Amanda over on Colorado's own Channel 2. Of course, his podcast on milehighsports.com. How are you this morning, my friend?
Doing great, Bruce. I always miss Eric, but it's a delight to talk shop with you. If people that don't know Bruce is way more accomplished than he ever lets on, and he's a baseball guy, so that's why.
You've got you got the baseball guy part of it, right? Accomplished, we're still working on. All right, we watched Thursday Night Football on Prime last night. It wasn't exactly a prime effort by the Buffalo Bills, but it was a winning effort at 3-0 quickly. Are they the team to beat in the AFC, or do we not know that yet?
They are, because they beat the Ravens, and
Right.
They have home field advantage. And right now, it appears the road to the Super Bowl is going to go through Buffalo. The Chiefs don't scare anyone anymore, Bruce.
Right.
They are not a threat offensively. So because of that, Josh Allen doesn't have to put on a cape every week, and they can run the football. They're way more balanced. They're the team to beat. And if you have to beat them in Buffalo in January, as we saw with the Broncos, good luck.
Yep. Absolutely. No question about it. With that, Sasquatch and Wildcard Casino in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or $25,000 in cash on the weekend of October 24th. Daily cash drawings are every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Players can earn daily entries with the locked up jackpot or by redeeming players' points on their playing card. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, good food, and family-owned casino that treats you like family. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
It's a pretty simple one since it's Friday, a couple of days before kickoff, as the Broncos take their traveling show on the road for a second straight week to SoFi Stadium, where they're only 1-5 career. 1-4, if my math is right, against the Chargers. They were swept by the Chargers last year in Jim Harbaugh's first season as head coach in Los Angeles. Troy, 2.5-point underdogs. It's week 3 in the NFL. Is it premature to call any game in week 3 of the NFL a really big game?
It is not, for this reason. If the Chargers, they 3 games up on the Broncos, because they would be 2 games up in the standings and they have the tiebreaker. You'd be chasing ghosts and the lightning bolts for 14 weeks. Now that's plenty of time, but then you have to beat them in Denver. I mean, that goes without saying. You're going to probably then have to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City at the end of the season to win a game now you weren't supposed to, but it's at Washington, at the Chiefs. Green Bay, I think before the season, I had that that's going to be a very difficult game at home. So it's a statement type game, a measuring stick type game. If you want to be viewed as something different than 10-7 and a plucky team that's kind of turned it around, and you want to be viewed as a real threat, go win this. Then you have the national attention will be back on you at 2-1 with a win over the Chargers. Bruce, Chargers are the 3rd Super Bowl favorite in the AFC behind the Bills and Ravens. I mean, that's how good they are, and Herbert's playing out of his mind. So I don't think it's overstating that game because of what it would mean in the standings. I was talking to former Bronco about this yesterday. He's like, you don't want to be down 3 weeks in. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're used to the Rockies doing after the first week of the season.
Do you What's your feeling on a team being able to open the season with 3 straight games in the division like the Chargers have done? Now, they've taken care of their business, and they've essentially won 2 road games, albeit one in Sao Paulo, Brazil. But still, they've got wins against the Chiefs and the Raiders, the Broncos 3 straight. I'm hard-pressed to think of another situation where a team has opened with 3 straight games against the division. Does it give a team like the Chargers quickly out of the gate a little advantage in getting some of this stuff out of the way?
I mean, I'm sure if the league was being honest and looked at it, they thought that they'd go 2 would lose to the Chiefs in Brazil. In hindsight, if you're a Broncos we wanted them to lose because the Chiefs look like they're going to lose multiple games this season, several games, and they didn't necessarily need to lose that one. But I think it's like the Vikings of 2003 are the last team to open with 3 straight division wins. I mean, it's been essentially 20 years. I don't like it because the schedule should be spread out more. Advantage. Now, obviously, if they would tell you if they started 3, buried. If you started off and lost these 3, but it's just the timing's right for them. They're a team on the cusp, and they're a team Harbaugh's second year that looks better, deeper, and Herbert is now going from talent to MVP caliber play. If he plays like he's played the first few weeks, then the Chargers are, and I think it goes without question. But I don't like it, to answer your question. I think those games should be spread out. 2 in the first 3 weeks, okay. 3 straight, I don't like it. I do think it gives them an advantage as a good team. Now, if the Raiders this, none of us would even squawk about it because they would go 1-2 or 0-3. But the Chargers having it, I do believe, advantage.
You know, you talked about Justin Herbert, who was a guy that I have loved since the University of Oregon. But I've always got the sense that with him, less needs to be more. Don't put so much on his rocket right arm, on his wide shoulders. Allow him to be the type of quarterback that can supplement an offense that is run first. I think that we're starting to see the greatness of a Justin Herbert. We're talking about a guy that's basically 500 as a starter, has played in only 2 playoff games, blew one of them in the game against Jacksonville a couple of years ago with a huge lead. But I think we're starting to see a guy really come into his own because of the breaks that Jim Harbaugh has really applied to what he's expecting out of Justin Herbert.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like a governor a bit on the passing game at times. And this year, the difference I see is they've clearly encouraged him to use his legs more.
Yeah.
That if you have an opportunity on third down, you want to take off, take off. I know you've been on field level in games with him. Folks out there, it's hard to describe how impressive he is physically. I mean, you're talking 6'5", 205, 250. Yeah. I mean, if you had if you were going to put a quarterback in the NFL and out of central casting, he would be number 1 in terms of the type, the body type, the arm strength, the knowledge. You know, he's been dinged in the past because he doesn't have a demonstrative personality, but I've talked to his teammates, you know, a few of them, and they say that, you know, the fire burns on game day, that he's way more intense than people realize, you know. And I just see last year, Harbaugh was tightening everything up in terms of we're going to win almost the Michigan way. We're going to be a run-first team. We're going to be disciplined, not get a lot of dumb penalties, and we're not going to turn the ball over. And Herbert was like a better version of J.J. McCarthy in that way, 23 touchdowns, 3 picks. This year, it looks like they're telling him, and Harbaugh, I'm sure, realizes this being around him now, that, holy crap, this guy's so talented. Just, you want to go win it, win it. We're just not going to force stuff in the passing game. Like, to your point, Bruce, we're not going to ask him to throw 40 times and win that way. Justin Herbert going 23 for 32 for 240, 2 touchdowns, and rushing for 50. You win a lot of games that way. You know who wins that way? Josh Allen. That's who wins that way. Lamar Jackson to some degree. Like, quarterbacks who throw toward in the high 30s and 40s, it's great for your fantasy league team. It's usually not great in reality. And Herbert looks like he is on one right now. He's on a heater.
Chargers under Jim Harbaugh seem to have a very definitive identity. We know who they are. We know who they are defensively. They're going to play that zone look. They're going to keep everything in front of you. It's the way they are. They don't try to fool you with anything. They try to beat you up front with a straight defensive line rush. They try to beat you with the running game. They're very consistent with the running game, trying to set up play action, and they pretty much are the same version of themselves week in and week out. They even throw the ball out of heavy sets, which is kind of interesting to watch them do that. But they're very consistent about their identity. This is one thing with the Broncos that I'm not as convinced with yet, even into year 3 with Sean Payton, who I think desperately would like to, on the surface, be a balanced offense, for instance. But he struggles to get there. Last week, he found that in Indianapolis. I thought he had really good success, at least for 3 quarters with the offense. We all know what happened in the fourth quarter, but it was a quantum leap from the imbalance that they had in week 1 against Tennessee when the offense really sputtered and wasn't very productive. Who do you trust more now in terms of an identity? It's got to be Harbaugh in his second year against Payton in his third. And these are 2 teams that you expect to be contenders in the AFC West for an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's why I love this game. And I mean, the AFC West, when you have Reed, Carroll, Payton, and Harbaugh. I mean, all 4. If Harbaugh wins the Super Bowl in the next few years, he's got a case for the Hall of Fame. Sean Payton's got a case for the Hall of Fame. Pete Carroll, maybe only one of them gets in with Andy Reid, but all 4 of them have Hall of Fame cases. If it were basketball, all 4 of them are in the Hall of Fame based on just college credit. I mean, all the stuff they've done in their lives. But this game, one of the reasons I love it is Peyton's 1-4 against Harbaugh. When Harbaugh was just cruising with the Niners, the Saints had issues with him, had trouble beating him. This game, in so many ways, I'm writing this for Sunday, it's a bit of a referendum on Peyton because the Broncos wanted Jim Harbaugh. There's no question. He was their first choice when they hired Peyton, but he didn't want to leave Michigan, and it turned out to be the right decision. Not only does he win a national championship, gets the hell out with the NCAA, and he goes to the Chargers where he's got Herbert. At the time, the Broncos had Russell Wilson. That's not nearly the selling point that Herbert was. But you look at these 2 teams, and what is the identity? How do they win in a certain way? And the referendum on the draft, I mean, Harbaugh goes out and gets Hampton, a guy, or Marion Hampton, a guy we thought the Broncos were going to take. He takes a second-round receiver. Like, so many things are similar, and it's almost like this scorecard of, in 3-4 years, when we look up, who's going to be better? And even now, like I would say, Herbert's better than Nick's, but Sean got to pick his hand-picked guy. And he's really, he's got a chance to be really good. So these games are to me because Harbaugh doesn't move. He's changed his personality since COVID, way more media friendly. He's more open in terms of his feelings and emotions, and especially in how much he loves his players, where we didn't see a lot of that, at least in Michigan. And certainly he was so intense in the Niners, he kind of burned out there. But he's not different as a football coach. He is the pole of the building. That's what's so unique about him. Sean sets the swagger and culture, but it doesn't feel like a building in Denver, like the building would collapse. Like, oh, he said all this. With Harbaugh, it's like when he leaves, that personality is so big. It's like if Mick Jagger leaves the Stones, or like, it's not going to be the same. Like, you could put a lead singer there, but it's just, that's what I feel with Harbaugh. He defines their team. They take on his personality. Old school, like, and I don't know if Payton, they take on his personality of swagger and confidence, but they don't have an identity yet. Like, what do they do well? What do they hang their hat on? Last year it was defense. And that's where, as you're to get it circling all the way back, if Denver's going to be a win-win type team, we got to look up in the final month and say, man, they can win because they do well. Whether that's great defense and turn them over, or the balance on offense, teams can't defend them.
The Broncos have already had one game where, unfortunately, they failed at the end, that you would elicit the response of good teams win games like that. This is another game that good or great teams find a way to go and win. Now, look, the other team's trying to. It's always a very difficult struggle in the NFL. Nothing is ever easy. I mean, the Bills knew that last night, taking on a very somewhat curiously pesky Dolphins team that had been absolutely awful in the previous weeks. But that's where you are in the NFL. The difference between the best and the worst is probably as slim as any professional sports anywhere in the world. But to your point, the Broncos don't have any kind of identity right now. If I asked you, what do they have to hang their helmets on? Who are they that you know that you can depend on in this game on Sunday? I think that you would have a very short answer board, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, before the season, I would have told you defense, pass rush.
Of course, right.
And they didn't get to Daniel Jones. They got to him once last week. But if you would ask me before the season, I would say they could win this game because of their defense and their pass rush. Right now, their defense looks ordinary, And honestly, it looks a little overrated. I wrote that today. Like, I don't think they're going to end up overrated, but they looked overrated at the Colts.
Yep.
Like that, they tightened up in the red zone in the second half, but they gave up 236 yards passing to Daniel Jones in the first half. And I don't even blame Vance Joseph. Just guys were losing their one-on-ones. They're blitzing, and blitzing's a weird term because it just means bringing 5. But even when it's 5, it's 5-on-5. You got to win it. And they weren't winning. Now, they're getting pressure. Were they? Benito was. I didn't see a lot of other guys getting pressure. And it's easy in my vantage point, and I'm not in the cockpit there, for a quarterback to avoid pressure from the edge. They just step up. So an edge rusher gets the credit. You know what kills him is when the pressure comes up the middle.
Right.
Because he gets off his spot, and then he runs into the edge rusher, or he gets the ball tipped. So, and it's just frightening, just their inability to cover running backs and linebackers right now.
Yeah.
That's why I can't sit here and say, hang my head on the defense, because they got one specific area that the Chargers are going to go after. Because when I watch the Chargers game, I'm like, man, you know who they kind of look like? Now, they don't have Jonathan Taylor or Tyler Warren, but they Conkey, who killed the Broncos last year. The game's going to be won in the middle of the field. And if this Broncos defense is who we think they are, you got to make a statement in a game like this. It's down to 2017. You've got a chance to win it late because your defense has got a couple turnovers and they have controlled and imposed their will. Because my whole thing of them winning the AFC West, Bruce, was their defense being special.
Yeah.
Their defense is chance they're winning the West. They're not good enough offensively yet. I mean, don't you think?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. So let me put the question to you. Do you see a pathway to win this football game for the Broncos? And if you do, what does it look like?
Well, you play discipline, and you've got to play clean football. That's number one against a Harbaugh team, because they will. Like Broncos last year, I think I totaled it up, got penalized like 14 last year in the 2 Chargers games, and the Chargers got penalized 5 times. That can't be the case. Neither team really turned the ball over. They sacked Herbert 5 times. They got to him, but they didn't. They only had the 1 turnover in both games. So the path to win for me is similar to kind of the old school, like when they were trying to win with Fangio back in the day. Great defense, keep the ball in front of you, win the red zone, make it a field goal game, and then when you look up at the end, you've got probably 1 more sack and 1 more turnover, a takeaway than they do. So you get 2 takeaways, they have 1, you have 3 sacks, they have 2, and then you win a low-scoring 2017 type game. That's the path to me. The path is not beat them 30-27. I don't, now again, I didn't think that would have had to been the path against either. But to me, the path against the Harbaugh team is you got to play clean. You got to play clean football and give yourself a chance and see where it goes. Because if they try to play the roller coaster game, the big play game, I don't see it. I don't see that. Now, if they were at home, maybe on the road. And the Chargers, it's not going to be the crowd Broncos country thinks it is there. Chargers are kind of a thing now.
Yeah.
You're not going to see 30,000 Broncos fans at SoFi. You're going to see orange. But it's not going to be like it was at that silly soccer stadium where it was 80% orange. It's not going to be like it was at the final days of Jack Murphy where it was 80% orange. You're going to see it because Broncos country, tip my cap to you, they travel. But I'm telling you, the Chargers are becoming a thing where it's not going to be this huge like home field advantage for the Broncos. They got to play clean football.
In fact, it's kind of a thing in LA right now, football with the Rams and the Chargers right now. They've got 2 pretty good football teams. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, CU looking to bounce back, Colorado State in a totally different kind of place. We'll get Troy's thoughts on both of those spots as we continue here. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or over $25,000 in cash the weekend of October 24th. Daily cash drawings are every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Players can earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming players' points on their players' cards. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, phenomenal promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
All right, welcome back. Troy Renck in for Eric Goodman, who is on assignment. It's actually down in Dallas tonight. He was at an event last night in Colorado Springs. Guy is everywhere. So he'll be back on the show coming up on Monday. Wanted to tell you a little bit about our friends from the Sasquatch Casinos. Get on out there, loose slots, great food, great family experience at Sasquatch up in Blackhawk. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Nola Jane in the heart of Lodo. No one does Cajun cuisine better than Nola Jane. Go see why their award-winning menu is the best in town.
All right, Troy, while we, of course, anxiously await kickoff in Los Angeles with the Broncos and the Chargers, we will have CU and Colorado State both at home this weekend. CU is a 13.5-point favorite at home against Wyoming, playing together, I guess, against each other for the first time since 2009. Is there any way that they don't win this football game?
I mean, if they turn the ball over, because they're vulnerable defensively right now. And we talk about, like, what do you do well defensively? They don't do a lot defensively well. I mean, outside of DJ McKinley, and he hasn't played great. They just don't look the part defensively. They haven't stopped the run. They've tried everything. Yep. In Wyoming's, they played a pretty easy schedule. They were fairly competitive, frankly, against Utah for a little bit of time because Utah's a good team this year. They're usually a good team, but they're back this year.
Right.
The only way they lose, Bruce, turn the ball over. You give up a long punt return for a touchdown, you turn it over, those kind of things. Because at home, as that type of favorite, it's already been a disappointing start to the season. That would be catastrophic. That would be not UNC beating CSU, but it would be in that realm for a team that began the season with bowl expectations. Because I'm being honest, Bruce, I'm a CU grad. I covered the team from 89 to 93 at the height of their powers. Yes, there was football history, folks, before Deion Sanders arrived. I hate to tell you all that think that that's not the case. But where are the 4 wins on the schedule?
That's a great question.
Where
are they?
6. I don't see 6 right now, but because TCU, Iowa State, Utah. The schedule looked a lot tougher than it did before the season, and they look a lot worse than we thought they were. Playing Salters, I think, will help. if Pat Shermer hasn't completely coached the athleticism out of him by making him a robot. I just like the Staub story. It's nice, but I don't think Deion understands when you're comparing your quarterback to the Rudy story.
Right.
That's not a compliment.
No.
I almost want to tell him, like, you might want to go watch that movie because you're basically saying your kid's a walk-on janitor who gets to play one play. Like, that's the Kurt Warner story. That's a great story. That's the underdog story I want for my quarterback, not Rudy. Rudy's a movie for a guy playing one play. I don't want that as my quarterback. That's not, and if that's the story 3 weeks into the season, we're not in a good place, Bruce.
And didn't he take his liberty to a New Year's Day bowl? I mean,
yeah, Salter's right. He's good.
Right.
But he doesn't look like that when I've watched him.
No.
He looks tentative and hesitant to run.
Yep.
I used to see this with high school basketball with kids where they get so many plays, and it's like, you run a specific play and you got to cut down, pop out, screen, that they forget to be athletes. And that, like, your son played college basketball. They forget and they end up with the ball in an open basket and they throw it out because that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, Salter looks like, I'm going to prove to the world that I'm a passing quarterback. And he's not an NFL guy. Like, that's a misnomer. Just run around and make plays. Be an athlete. And when I watched him that opener against Georgia Tech, I mean, he would get on the edge and have just clear pasture in front of him and then throw the football. I'm like, no. You have that kind of space, you got to run. And I hope that that's what they're telling him is, let's go back to your Liberty playbook. And if the first read you don't see, take off.
Boom. Get upfield. Where are we in year 3 of Deion Sanders? 4 games in. Obviously, the big jump a year ago. All of this to me is kind of, it's hard for me to know where the evolution of this program is going when you've had players, generational players in college anyway, like Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. That skews the whole kind of how you're, taking in the evolution. But where is it right now? Where do you see this program 3 years in?
I don't want to say in trouble because as long as Deion's there, they get the attention, they get the money, they're on TV. I just don't see the one thing that needs to change with Deion if they're going to be consistently competitive, Bruce. They got to be able to recruit O-line, D-line. And Deion's history at Colorado and even at Jackson State is he's going to have some of the best skill players. Well, now they don't. Shedeur and Travis they were so top heavy last year in hindsight. Now Jimmy Horn and Western, like their receiving core and Shedeur last year were elite for college. And they don't have that now. And so what do you fall back on? Oh yeah, well we're going to run the ball. And they've tried. They're a little better at it, but you keep getting these linemen from these schools where they're not directional schools, but they're available in the transfer portal for a reason in a lot of cases. You know what I mean? Like, they're not getting high-end transfers on O-line, D-line. And so when you ask about the evolution, that is my concern because Juju Lewis, in theory, is a 5-star. He's not ready right now, but hopefully he stays. And by putting on 15, 20 pounds, you come back next year with him and a couple receivers. But I don't see how they take a jump until they figure out the interior, build inside out. And they just haven't been able to land those guys other than Seton. That's really it. Jordan Seton is a legitimate pro prospect, first round, probably a first rounder. But who else? And that's when I watch them, anytime they play a physical team, they get punched in the face and they lose. They cannot run the ball and they don't stop the run. And you have a coordinator now in Shermer who actually has to call the plays, who is not equipped to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. And then it puts more emphasis on Deion's coaching strategy, which for me has not been his strength. Game day is not his strength. It's everything else around that. So all of that comes into play. All of these, all of these blemishes that Shedeur and Travis concealed like Revlon.
Right.
Now there's no makeup. You're a TV guy still. Where's the makeup? Where's the concealer? Who can hide it when you don't manage the clock right? When they run my quarterback and he spins out and gets a 30-yard, they don't have that now. So then it comes down to coaching and discipline and scheme, and that's not their strength. That's not their strength. I wish they would become, if you want to evolve, I wish they could have Deion's recruiting type, all that, and be more like Utah. A tough physical team that you know every year what you're going to get. And even last year when they were terrible, I think they were still 5-7 because they beat you up. They physically want to throw the sawdust down and fight you. And if CU wants to be all sizzle, no steak, you better have the top guys in the country. That's what it's showing me. The evolution is they better make sure that Juju's a legit pro prospect and that they're surrounding him with 4 or 5-star receivers because they haven't shown any other way to win.
Do we see all 3 quarterbacks tomorrow?
God, I hope not.
I mean, surely we're past that point now, right?
Yeah, listen, and I don't mean to dismiss Staub because what I was saying is
Right.
I think Deion's comparison to him to Rudy is not fair to the kid.
Right.
He's a legitimate college backup,
Yeah.
but he's a backup. And when everyone's, look what he did against Delaware. I'm like, honestly, folks, if you watch that, Delaware is a borderline Division I team. You just see the speed difference. When
Right.
you go to Houston, you can say, oh, Houston's not very good. I know, but they have legit D1 athletes. It's just the game's faster. So my hope is that you don't see Juju until you play the Salters thing out completely. Give him the next month. If it goes completely sideways, then you put Juju in the last 4 games of the season and let him play. I mean, I haven't looked at the schedule. Some of those would be brutal, but let him get experience in 2 or 3 games like the old school NFL way, and then he comes back next year, learns from that experience, and he's the guy, and Staub's just there as the backup kind of to either one of them. But if we see 3, it's a guaranteed. They should win this game, but if they try to play 3 going forward, those are just auto losses for me. Because to do that, you'd have to have a creative play caller.
Yeah.
One guy's an option quarterback, runs around. The other guy's a true pocket guy, and the other guy's the brains of the operation. That's a hard game to call. That's meant for an elite play caller. And it's not personal with Shermer. It really isn't. I didn't like covering him with the Broncos. I've never made that a secret, but he's not that guy as a play caller.
Agreed. No question. By the way, to your point, let me underscore it as we move to Colorado State. In their next 5 games, the Buffs have 5 teams that are currently 14-0 between them. 2 of them are ranked teams in the top 16 in the country in Iowa State and Utah, who, by the way, they play on the road. Your point of trying to find 4 or 5 wins is one that's well made. Colorado State, Troy, I'm prepping for the show last night, and I'm looking through lines, not that because I'm a degenerate, but because I just like to know the difference but in how Vegas is thinking about 2 ends of the extreme for these teams. I had to do a double take. Colorado State is a 4.5-point underdog at home, at Canvas, against Texas San Antonio, the same Texas San Antonio out of the American that's 1-2, and their 1 win came against Incarnate Word. That's not a very good word for Colorado State. I don't even know what to make of it. And that's with all due respect to Texas San Antonio.
Yeah, that win against Incarnate Word did not have Cam Ward at quarterback. I
It
can
did
guarantee.
not, no.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that they were a dog. I heard that yesterday, and I'm like, you're a home dog against UTSA? Like, I don't even remember UTSA playing football
Right.
until the last few years. Like, my son, Brady, they practiced there for a winter tournament in Dallas one time. I think John Lackey's from there, if memory serves.
Yeah, I
But,
think that's
like, I
right.
knew they played some baseball, and I know, like, Texas State's really good in baseball,
Mhm.
that a school you wouldn't think of, Dallas Baptist.
Right.
I don't even think of UTSA as football, and they were really good in baseball again last year. But I'm like, wait, you're a dog? And I mean, and their game against UNC was about as bad as it gets. That's as
Awful.
bad as you could ever play in a win, and it would have been the worst loss in the history of the program just by the number. They were a 34.5-point favorite. But if you lose this game, and I'm the one writing this, and it's not personal. I feel like I'm like writing about coaches getting fired all the time, but that's just kind of vortexes this year with Bednar, kind of having to win this year. You can't keep saying, oh, we're close. And with Norvell, he's in this weird spot where he's very similar to Bobo of the previous regime, where coming off a 7-win season, they gave Bobo an extension, and then it went straight downhill. And as an athlete, John Weber, he's done some amazing things up there with their soccer, their volleyball, men's hoops. Can they afford for Jay for the ceiling to be 7 wins? Because the window into your athletic program is the football program. That's just the nature. That's where your big money comes from. And the students are showing out up there. The Canvas Chaos, they're showing up. You can't then have them show up 12, 15, whatever that number is of students at an on-campus stadium and lose to UTSA. Like, the math doesn't work. You can't be like, oh, we're cool being 6-6. I just don't think they would be. I think they would be like, Jay, you've done a nice job. We respect how you do things. But ultimately, it's going to come down to this. If CSU is going to kind of rebound and get to like 7-8 wins, all the investment they put in Brayden Fowler-Nicolosi's got to pay off. And he looks like, to me, and I like the kid, I like his personality. He looks like he peaked in Boulder 2 years ago. And if that was the high point, they're in trouble. And I don't care what the line is. You lose to UTSA at home, yikes. I mean, yikes. That's how you get in trouble as a head coach, Bruce. Lose home games and play in a way that makes fans want to dig their eyeballs out with a rusty fork.
Is Norvell, who is really underscoring what you just said, I think, remarkably likable guy. He's candid. He answers questions. He's accountable. There are things about him that I like a great deal. I think he has made progress in building this program, but now there's a timing issue.
Right.
There's a timing issue with the Pac-12 coming up right around the corner, and the very real question at this point, which way is the program going? Is it ascending or is it descending to the point where you have to take a step up in the Pac-12, however it's going to look? And I know it's going to look a lot like the Mountain West. Texas State's going to be in there, but you've got Washington State, Oregon State, 2 better teams. It's going to be a step up. It may be a stutter step up, but is Jay Norvell right now the right guy for that job? So how much is he teetering at this moment in that? Is there a way that he doesn't even make it through the season possibly?
That would surprise me.
Me too.
Because John Weber, when I've talked to him one-on-one the last 2 summers, when he's come down and visited the Denver Post, once at a restaurant and then this last summer at the Post, he likes Norvell the person. He likes the way they're doing things. I mean, it's one of, like, you hear that report, like the owner doesn't want to fire the NFL head coach. This AD is not looking to move on from him. He likes Norvell, but he's also a businessman. I mean, Weber's a businessman, first and foremost. And so what would hurt him where he would be in trouble, like at the end of a season, is if they're 4-6 and that last home crowd is half the stadium full. That's how you get fired in college and even in the pro sports. But it's when your fans turn on you and turn on the product, you can't defend the coach. And the problem that Jay runs into is they brought him in to run the air raid. They've had to totally reinvent themselves.
Right.
And to his credit, last year they on the fly said, we're going to be more like the Iowa team, that Jay played for in college. It's just like roll up the sleeves and we're going to win ugly. And for the most part, they did. But that's not what he was brought in for. And that's why if you start losing and you look to the head coach and go, the one thing he was supposed to fix, we're worse at now. I mean, that's where he would be in trouble. If they were losing 33-30 and BFN looked like a, Davey O'Brien candidate, and I think you kind of live with it in some ways. Like, okay, then he's got one more year with this quarterback, and we just figure the defense out. And that's Jay but when he's the guy in charge of the offense, and the offense looks like it did against UNC, that's a problem. That's why I'm saying at the end of the year, again, if they're playing boring football and the students are tuned it out, that's where he would be in trouble in terms of his future. Because they're moving into the Pac-12, you need momentum. And that's where would they say, screw it, we're going to go get the young guy, and we're going to live with CSU being a stepping stone where a guy comes here for 2 to 3 years and leaves. We want the next Kenny Dillingham type.
Yeah.
Will they do that? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know they want it to work out with Jay, but they got to be way better offensively. And they've got a bunch of home games coming up that's going to largely determine his fate, in my opinion.
Why do you think Nicolosi has, for lack of a better description, backed up a little bit? Because I agree with you. I thought he was at his absolute best in a game that they should have won, that you arguably could have made that they were the better team in Boulder 2 years ago.
It just looks like, when I've talked to him, he's supremely confident.
Yeah.
He's too confident in his arm and in his ability at times. I remember telling him last spring, like, man, you got to learn to be boring as a quarterback. Meaning, take the checkdowns, keep the stick moving, keep those chains moving. That's not his style. He not so much this year, but the year before, it's like, oh, I got a little bit of Brett Favre in me and all that. Problem is, football's not played that way anymore. Coaches, for the most part, are turnover averse. They just don't play like you and I grew up watching guys throwing 15, 20 picks a year. Like, they just don't do the plus-minus game. So why do I think he's regressed? He still takes chances in ways that are unnecessary. And mechanically, he does stuff that puts him in position to turn the ball over. Like at Washington, they're playing they're playing great for 3 quarters. He threw a pick in that game off his back foot. Yeah. Where, I mean, I hate to use the comparisons. I love the Manning family, but it looked like Arch Manning. Shoulders squared, falling down, sidearm into double coverage. I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Like, what is your head telling you that there's nobody open? It's not even a case of arm strength. Like, it's just, you can't do that. So why do I think hasn't moved forward? I thought it last year he plateaued. This year it looks like regression. And it looks like a guy who still can't balance taking care of the ball and taking chances. And when he takes chances, typically his footwork, to me, and his mechanics get off, and he's not that guy. You know, he's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar, guy throwing the ball hundo, easy cheese. And so that's what I see, is he just hasn't been able to find the balance of when to let it rip and when to just eat it and be boring for a few drives. Move the ball and then and now when you open the quarterback competition, maybe it finally sends a message to him, but they really don't have a choice. Like, they've invested so much time and money in him. If it doesn't work out, I don't know how it works out for Jay Norvell. Yeah. I just don't. I get that he's pissed, but unless this backup's a dude, which I doubt, I think they just did it to send a message to, BFN that, like, dude, enough. You cannot turn the ball over like this. We're not good enough.
All right. When does the next podcast drop?
I'll be on this morning with Luca Evans. Parker just emailed. Looks like he's not going to be able to make it, but I'll be on with my Denver Post colleague, Luca Evans. We'll break down some of these Chargers things. What in the hell is going on with Dre Greenlaw and Evan Ingram? I mean, they've gone from ineffective to injured to, like, that's a problem. We knew there was a risk there, but I didn't think we would not see them. And so we'll talk some of that. And then just that matchup of, the blitz versus Herbert. Can the Broncos get home? He's killed the blitz. Just get a little bit into the weeds with that matchup. But you started the program by saying it. To me, it's a huge game. You win this game, it's very similar, Bruce, to the win at Tampa last year. Yep. To me, that is Payton's signature win as the Broncos coach. That win at Tampa, 26-7, when you're 0-2, nobody believes in you. Can they do that here against the Chargers and go to 2-1 with the Bengals with no Burrow on the other end? The season feels totally different.
No question. Hey, you win a game and all of a sudden you're tied for first in the division. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Troy, we'll see you later, buddy. Thanks for filling in. We appreciate it.
You got it, Bruce. You're the best. See you soon.
All right, Troy. There he goes. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. We'll be back with Eric Goodman coming up next Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.